David Lynch is widely regarded to be America's premier avant-garde filmmaker. You need look no further than the following films: Lost Highway, Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, and The Elephant Man.
Why didn't you tell me you could read?
Right.
Oh, I see.
Were you afraid? Teresa was with the T.
That's right.
You may think I've gone insane.
Hello?
Meow, meow. It's me.
Hey, baby.
I can't see you tonight.
Okay.
Sailor Ripley, Luna loves you.
But I'm a robber.
David Lynch's unique place in cinema continues with his latest film, The Straight Story. It has already been recognized by the National Board of Review as one of the year's 10 best films. I am pleased to have David back at this table. Welcome back.
Thank you, Charlie. It's good to be back.
Let's just talk about The Straight Story first and,
Sure.
and how it fits in sort of the evolution of a filmmaker. When did you tell me the story?
The story of how it happened, how I came to do it?
How you came to do the film.
Okay. In 1994, Alvin made this journey.
This is Alvin Strait.
Alvin Strait. And he traveled on his riding lawnmower to visit his brother.
Who was very ill.
Who was very ill. And the newspapers covered this story. Toward the end, people got, aware of it and started covering it. And Mary Sweeney read about it in the New York Times. She held this, desire for 4 years to want to, write the story and get it made. And I'm hearing about it. I live with Mary.
I know, I was going to say.
Yeah, I live with her, and every morning, every night, I'm hearing about the Straight Story.
Straight story.
But she didn't get the rights for it until 1998.
Yeah.
So when she got the rights, she and her childhood friend John Roach sat down and wrote the script. They wrote it pretty fast. They took the whole journey. They went and interviewed many people, talked to the Strait family, and wrote a script that I think of all the scripts I've read, I've really only liked 4 scripts, and this is one of the 4. I loved this script. I didn't think that I would love it. And so once I read the script, I was there.
All right. Now, here's what's interesting about this. What are the other 3 scripts that you've loved?
Okay. I loved a script called Love in Vain about Robert Johnson.
Right.
Great script. I loved 2 scripts by a guy named Gregory Brooker, Spring of '61 and The Fall and Rise of Glenn. And those 3 I loved.
Yeah, and so then now Mary wants you to direct it. She says, take a look at this and see if you're interested in directing it.
Right.
And but everybody notes, first of all, this is not like anything you've ever done before.
Right. It was curious. I'm reading the script and I'm feeling things. And I've always said that film is such a beautiful language. It can do abstractions. It can do abstractions, and abstractions are the combination of all these different elements that you have in a film. It can do an abstraction of emotion, and I felt this emotion coming from the script. And that's what that's what lit my fire. The
emotion of what?
The emotion coming from a scene, from a word, from a look. When you read something, we all have the experience, we picture it in our minds. And those pictures, those initial things, are what guide us from then on. And so as this thing, I was picturing it, at the same time, I'm feeling things, and I'm thinking, film can do this, and it could be beautiful.
You spent 21 days filming.
No, 31.
Okay, 31 days.
Yeah.
All right, 10 more.
10 more.
In
That makes
Iowa.
a big difference.
You filmed it sequentially, too.
We had to film in sequence, yes.
Yeah. Richard Farnsworth. Was he the unanimous choice?
Oh, yeah.
Because he's brilliant in this.
Yeah. We're so lucky to have had Richard in this film. And everybody who's seen the film agrees that Richard is spectacular. I loved working with him. I think he's one of the all-time great actors. He doesn't consider himself an actor, which is kind of sad, but okay. He came about acting through, he was in the rodeo, then he was a stuntman, and then he came into acting. And he never really, because maybe he didn't study or he didn't do this or didn't do that, but the guy can make it real from way deep inside of him. And it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Do you consider yourself, in your heart, a painter or a director?
I'm both. You know, that's what I am, both. I'm also a great guitar player.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
How about cook?
No, I don't like cooking at all. No.
Don't like it at all?
No.
What else do you do well? You paint, you direct, you play the guitar.
No, I'm very interested in music. I'm not a guitar player. I play the guitar, but I am very interested in sound and music. I love working with Angelo Badalamenti.
He's done everything you've done since the 80s.
Since Blue Velvet, right.
Yeah.
And now I have my own studio, and the primary purpose of it was to be able to experiment, and that's a great thing to be able to do.
All right, let's take a look. Why is this man's journey, Alvin Straight, played by Richard Farnsworth, across Iowa to see his very sick brother on a tractor, interesting?
It has to do with the reason he makes the trip, and it has to do with the difficulty of the trip, and it has to do with his age and the things in his heart.
That's what I'm saying. It has to do with what he feels and what he sees.
Right.
And how he feels about what he sees.
It's a beautiful reason to make the trip, and the trip has to be done in a certain way. And that's you know what it's all about. And that comes through, you know, for me, and you know, I think for others.
All right. Roll tape. Here it is, a scene with Alvin Straight, and when he's talking to his daughter, Rose, who's played by kind of an eccentric daughter, played by Sissy Spacek, about going to visit his brother Lyle. Here it is.
Rosie, I've got to go see Lyle. And I've got to make this trip on my own. I know you understand.
If you don't like that, then, you know, you're not living on this planet.
Well, that's a beautiful scene, and Sissy did a spectacular job, as well as Richard, as well as everybody.
Why did you want Sissy?
I've always wanted to work with her. She's married to Jack Fisk, who's he's my oldest and best friend. So.
Is he a screenwriter or director? What is
he started out as a production designer, and he worked with Terry Malick and, you know, a bunch of people. And then he went into directing, and now he came back to production design. And so this is the first time we worked together, and first time I worked with Sissy, even though I've wanted to work with her, but you've got to get the right part lined up with the right person, and it happened this time.
Now, is Mary happy with what you did with her script?
I hope so, yeah.
Or else, you know, we come home tonight.
Yeah, she's happy. She's also the editor, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's in fact what her profession is, right?
Right. Yeah, but she's producer now and editor and now a writer. So she's taking over.
Now, having done this, was it difficult for you? Because it's not the kind of thing you had been used to doing? Blue Velvet, this is a long way from Blue Velvet.
It's not difficult. Every film is difficult in a way, but it's so much fun. And the story dictates everything. And so once you fall in love and those pictures form, and you stay true to those early feelings, true to the story, you go. It's the same as every film. I know it's different than most of my other work, but the way it goes is the same.
And it wasn't any more difficult to do because you're dealing with capturing the emotion of Was it easier?
No, it wasn't easier. In some ways, it was more difficult. This thing about emotion, you know, it's an intuitive thing. The film talks to you, and the story talks to you, and so it's a little bit action and reaction. You know, you're experimenting as you go to get the thing to feel correct. And how come it has to feel correct to me? And so you work and work until it does feel correct. And on this, there were fewer elements going along in the sequences, and so each one became more important. And I start getting, you know, real fascinated about the way a sound would present itself, how it would come up out of nothing and go, and how it would die away. Those things became real critical. The way things appeared and disappeared.
Some will argue that restraint can heighten the emotional effect.
It's too little is not so good. Too much is not so good. Yeah. It's that magic point when all the lights go off like a pinball machine, and you know you're there, but you don't know exactly how you got there.
All right, roll tape. This is one final scene, because I think Richard Farnsworth is so great in this, in which he talks about the importance of family.
When my kids were real little, I used to play a game with them. I'd give each one of them a stick, and one for each one of them. And I'd say, you break that.
Put this in the context of things you have done. How do you feel about it? Is it just part of the evolution of one man's?
I feel very good about it. It's a film that I think it's out there right now, and it's holding its own, and apparently it has very good word of mouth. And I'm just hoping that it can hold out there, and that people will go experience it on the big screen. Mm-hmm. I think in time it will have a very good reputation, this particular film.
Any longing within you to make peace with something?
Yeah, maybe myself.
Yourself?
Yeah.
You're at war with yourself, or are you trying to understand yourself, or are you on a journey
to understand myself, yeah.
to understand contradictory impulses? Or?
Exactly, yeah, to figure it out. Yeah. It's a mystery.
Is this simply a case of a gifted filmmaker seeing a script he loved? Or can you make more of the fact that you're doing this film in terms of the cycles and the evolution of the life, of a creative artist's life?
I have said that I think first you read a script or a book, or you get ideas, and you begin to fall in love, and at the same time you feel a thing in the air, and the thing in the air is always changing. And something about the thing in the air verifies your love, or you kind of goes against it. And in this case, it went, you know, with it, the thing in the air. And so it felt correct to go forward.
What's the thing in the air?
I don't know what it is. It's it might be in Germany. They say it's a zeitgeist.
Yeah,
they told me that name for it,
that?
and I don't know if that is this thing that is always changing, and it's a product, I think, of every one of us. And since we're always, you know, moving about and changing and going forward, this thing is always changing, and it tells you something.
Okay, you know the question I'm really asking: does this fact that David Lynch at this point in his life is making this film, beyond the fact that it was a script he liked, say something? I mean, here David Mamet's making The Winslow Boy.
I don't know.
Wim Wenders is making Buena Vista Club.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
It's a great documentary.
Yeah, it's a great one. Yeah.
So, I mean, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I don't think it says so much about me. I think people do feel this thing in the air, and it might alter our thinking a hair. You don't know what you're going to fall in. The most important thing is what you fall in love with. And the reason you fall in love is an abstraction. Nobody knows why they fall in love with this woman and not this one.
Yeah, or why they fall out of love.
Or why they fall out. Well, they know that a lot of times.
Yes, they do. But so, and you can't figure it out. In other words, you can't sit here and say to me, I can tell you what was in the air. It was this, this, and this.
No.
It's a
beautiful abstraction.
Beautiful abstraction. It's a kind of a psychic thing. What kind of paintings are you painting now?
I'm painting with glue. I like texture, and oil paint is very expensive. So I found this tile cement that's not so toxic, but you can get a 5-gallon tub of it for pretty cheap. It's really sticky, but if I paint outside and a little bit later the sun starts cooking it and it becomes less and less sticky, and then if I mix paint in with it, sometimes I set it on fire. They're glue paintings, and they're organic, and I try to get nature to work with me on the things.
Yeah, do you paint out on top of your house? Is where where your studio is?
Yes, it is.
You just go up there in the sunlight and paint.
Exactly right.
Now, why do you paint outside?
Well, because there's a lot of toxic things involved with the work.
I see. So you got to be outside so that nobody gets sick.
And I like the way the sunlight it works on it. It cooks it. In California, it gets sometimes very hot.
But what are you painting with this glue?
Well, I'm painting a series of this character, Bob, and his particular concerns, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of Bob, just tell me the story about when you were going to Bob's Big Boy in Los Angeles.
You've got a fixation.
Yes, I do. Because I love
you love chocolate. You like chocolate milkshakes?
No. I like vanilla milkshake.
Vanilla milkshakes.
Yeah, you like chocolate.
I like chocolate. Yeah.
But what else would you eat with this?
Just
milkshake?
a coffee.
Oh, but you had all the sugar in the coffee.
Yeah, I had sugar.
Now, what was going on there? Was it was giving you a high that made you think clearly?
Yeah, but I didn't. It is like a drug, I suppose.
The sugar can be.
Yeah, because it revs you up. And but I went, as you know, at 2:30 in the afternoon because they pour a liquid into these machines, and it has to have time to get cold to become thick.
Right.
During lunch, there's a turnover, and so they're always kind of thin. But after the lunch settles down, before the thing gets too old in the machine, it has time to congeal and get nice and thick. And you got a chance for getting a great shake.
But you gave it up.
Yeah, I gave it up.
And you gave up all the sugar or saccharin or whatever it is you use in the coffee, too.
Sugar. But I gave it up. One time I went through the garbage behind Bob's. And I found the carton of the mixture. And I couldn't make sense of any of the ingredients. And I figured it was enough time of having had those, and I should stop.
What's in the air for you now in terms of the movies? So what are you eating at first? Tell me what you're eating.
I'm eating, for lunch, tomatoes, tuna fish, feta cheese, and olive oil.
Here's what's interesting about you. You eat that every day.
Every day.
Every day. You eat the same thing.
Yeah, it's very good.
Well, I'm sure it is. Otherwise, we wouldn't eat it every day.
Right, exactly.
And what do we eat for dinner?
Chicken, little pieces of chicken and broccoli, and a little soy sauce.
Every day?
Yeah, every day, except when I travel. Then I go off that.
Is this? Can we say you're a creature of habit?
Yes, habit in a daily routine.
Yeah.
And then when there's some sort of order there, then you're free to mentally go off any place. You've got a safe sort of foundation and a place to spring off from.
Yeah. And you view that in terms of the creative process as very important.
It's very important for me.
For you?
Yeah.
Right. You don't like a cluttered room when you're thinking.
No. The purer the environment, the more fantastic the interior world can be, it seems to me.
Yeah. Can you help me understand where you may be going now that you've done this film? What's in the air?
In the air, I think things are, as they say, they're always changing. Yeah. I think right now the air is filled with Y2K. And maybe in January it'll settle down and we'll see what's really there. But
we got to get through Y2K
we got to get through
first.
This thing. It's a very busy kind of thing in the air now. Yeah. But I don't know what I'll fall in love with. That's for sure. I don't have the next thing.
Yeah, and falling in love is really what it's about.
It's all about that, yeah.
You'd rather tell a long story than make a movie.
No, I love both the things.
Okay, you do
very
both.
much. It's just a continuing story allows you so many different surprises, and you're not having to wrap things up, and you can have one thing lead to this thing, and then come back to relate to something that was introduced way back here, and those things are thrilling for us.
Is Dune the worst mistake was that?
That wasn't a mistake. I learned a lot, and It was a little bit, maybe more than a little. I sold out. I didn't have final cut, and I knew the way people were, and I adjusted. And you really can't do that.
No. Two things you got to know.
Yeah.
Final cut.
I know that. I learned that, Charlie.
And owning your own thing.
Yeah, I haven't learned that.
We'll get there too. Yeah. All the things you have made, I realize it's a silly question, but give me. What are you most proud of?
They're, you know, they say they're all like children. Yeah, yeah. Right. So I like every film. But there always is the feeling, since nothing's ever perfect, something makes you want to go again. And there's something about this beautiful language, you just think it can do something that would be so thrilling to the soul. And so you're looking for a story that allows for modern cinema, beautiful feelings, and all in one story. And so you just it keeps pulling you.
Woody Allen once said, if you really want to understand the 60s, you got to see what was going on in the 50s that led to the 60s.
For sure.
Elvis being one.
Exactly.
And the Beatles,
always you look before. Like a lot of times
by that.
People make a film that's set in the 50s.
Right.
Now. You know,
right.
You know, so they go and they find 50s furniture and put it in the house and make the film. When in reality, if you went in somebody's house in the 50s, you'd see furniture from the 30s, 20s, right, exactly. 40s. Hardly any people had the 50s stuff.
Do you know which generation, at what period you'd like to live in if you did live in this one?
In the 50s. 56, yeah. Somewhere 56. Around. I'd like to live to 56, yeah.
Why 56?
I don't know. The birth of rock and roll was very powerful. And there was a feeling in the air then that I liked. I was a child, so that makes it. I wasn't seeing the whole picture, but in my little world, I felt a real, positive thing happening.
Yeah. Even in Missoula.
No, I was in Boise, Idaho.
Oh, in Boise by then.
Yeah, by then, yeah.
There are those also who look at Blue Velvet, and was it Wild at Heart? I've forgotten the title. Was it Wild?
Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, there is a man with some weird ideas about sex.
Mm-hmm. Well, everybody knows that any avenue has their extremes, one way, and there's most in the middle, a balance. Wild at Heart was all about an extreme, a crazy world, crazy activities, things just coming apart. That was really in the air. When I finished reading Barry Gifford's book, it married itself with this insanity sort of that was in the air. Things were kind of flying apart. And I love the idea of a love story in the middle of an insane world. So everything was kind of out. And but Sailor and Lula were very much equal, one to another, the man and the woman. He respected her, she respected him. I liked that in the middle of this crazy modern, thing. But they were with each other. They knew what they wanted, and they were together.
Dennis Hopper influenced Blue Velvet by his sheer intensity and performance for you. Mm-hmm. Did he not?
Oh, sure. Yeah, somebody else, I mean, he was born to play. He admitted it. He said, I am Frank.
That's what he said. You once told me the story.
Yeah.
Didn't he call you up and
called me up
and said, I'm Frank?
That was good news and bad news, yeah.
What was the bad news?
The bad news was I had to work with this guy. In my mind, I'm thinking,
Oh, you were saying. Mm-hmm. How often have you fell in love with your actresses in your film?
Oh, man, you're getting personal. I fall in love with them all because they're...
Because work and love and all that is part of who you are.
Yeah, I've worked with some great, people, and work brings you, close, and it's a special thing. And there's actors and actresses. That's a very tough life, and when they're going, it's very delicate, and things have to be nice, for them.
Things have to be nice for them.
Yeah, they have to feel safe, and so they can leave themselves and take on another thing and make it real. Yeah. And the ones I've worked with, they've been very great.
So are you.
In doing that.
So are you. Straight Story is a wonderful, wonderful film, deserving of all the accolades that it's receiving, and Mary Sweeney deserves enormous credit.
She does.
For
she does. Yeah.
writing the screenplay and playing the role that she played, and seeing that this film made it to
the screen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Richard Farnsworth and Sissy Spacek and so many people. I mean, it just shows me the power of storytelling, the power of sort of basic sense of one man driven by a reason in his own heart to go. As he said in that first scene, I've got to go. Forget anything else. I've got to go.
Exactly, Charlie.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
It was
as
good
always.
to see you again.
Thank you.
Really good.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too. David Lynch, the director. The film is called The Straight Story. We'll be right back. Stay with us.